1, 0. All right, guys. This is the C Arrow 165 channel, and we are with the three birdies, which is including me, Antonio, and the guy named Will.
Ew.
Will. So a quick little test to see where I'm just testing where we if the audio works or not.
Audio
Works or not.
Audio jungle.
Audio jungle.
Audio jungle. Audio jungle.
Audio jungle.
Audio jungle.
Audio jungle.
Audio jungle.
Okay, I think it works.
Audio jungle.
I think it. Fine.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're good. So just to start out, I guess, how's everyone doing?
Pretty good. Going pretty good.
Okay. That's awesome. So we're gonna be talking about. Well, we already talked about this before stream, like a long time before. We were talking about cross-dressing. We're gonna be discussing about it in a positive way, and like I said before, we're gonna look at different perspectives on cross-dressing. So, like, we're gonna look at it in, not just perspectives. We're also gonna look at it at so we're gonna look at it in like different topics about it. So, like, and entertainment, war, the history behind it, just in like what's the other one? I can't remember. The culture aspect of it. That's what I was trying to get to. And so, yeah. So let's just dive in. So
Okay.
what do you think about cross-dressing? Like, just give me your opinion about it before we get into this. Like, how do you feel about it?
I think it's a way that people like to be expressive.
Okay.
Is my understanding of it.
How about you, Antonio?
Yeah, just a way to express yourself more.
Mm-hmm. All right. When I first discovered it, or just when I first, looked it up, or before I even looked it up, I found it very odd and weird because I was never around it. So the paper that I have so far, we'll dive a little bit in the paper. So in the paper, I did say that the reason people find it so weird and kind of offensive because they have never been near something like that. That was like my little theory, and that's also kind of true, I think, in a way, because like if you're not exposed to anything like that, and if you're raised a certain way, to find something weird, that's gonna really put your impact. That's gonna really put your perspective into a way that, oh, that's weird, and I don't want to be that, and that's a bad thing in society. What do you think about that?
I think you're actually right. A lot of people are more trained into thinking the way that they are from their parents.
Yeah, because like when I was I don't know about you, but my dad's a huge Democrat, and when he raised me, that Democrats are always right, basically, and I learned very fast that I wasn't really, that's not how it goes now, because both sides are just not it, because one side's so far left and one side is so far right. But how do you feel about that, Platinum? How do you feel about like what I was saying earlier about the whole paper and all that stuff? I'll bring it up actually.
Sure, go ahead, bring it up.
I don't have it finished, so my bad if I don't have it fully finished. But this is a interesting thing. So hold on, I'm looking for the app and stuff.
to build on Antonio's point, I do agree. People are raised in such a way that they're taught a lot of beliefs that get sort of drilled into their head, and while a lot of them may not be totally unbiased or correct, that's their opinion, and they live by that without really much proof behind what they're saying. Just to build on Antonio's perspective on it there.
Yeah.
You were saying?
So, okay, I found it. So title's going to be called Diving Deep into Cross-Dressing. So this is what I said. Cross-dressing is an exciting topic, especially when digging into a particular topic like this. I will be discussing a lot of ways that the cross-dressing is approached from different perspectives and addressing all the typical stereotypes that are not necessarily true within this type of hobby. Some people, myself included, think it's strange for people to cross-dress, or should I say used to, when realistically some people lack looking into reality and realizing that it's not really bad at even the slightest bit. The only reason that some people think it's weird or bad is that they are not used to it, or probably they have never been around different kinds of people with unique interests, which that's probably the case. When thinking of such a controversial topic, you got to respect it and realize it's not that weird of a hobby. And so, and here's the when I get into the real stuff. The first ever sign of documentation of cross-dressing was in China in the 6th century. It was actually about a young girl who dresses up like a man so she could take her father's place in the war that happened between the Northern Wei state and a Mongolic state called Rouran. This later turned into the movie Mulan. The story of Huan and Mulan changed history for women. About a single doubt, because back in those times, women were not. I need to change that. That's bad. Because back in those times, women were not allowed to fight in wars. That was almost unheard of back in the 6th century. In ancient China, women had no rights and weren't rarely allowed to work. And the only time they were allowed to work was when they had anything to do in the house. So cleaning the house and weaving, it makes sense why Huan Mulan did what she did. This is my perspective. I write a little bit what I was talking about. If that was me, there is no way I could do that. A person that does not even have the slightest interest into doing cross-dressing, the story of Mulan is an inspiration to a lot of people that do cross-dressing, and to me. You continue to see events similar to this same situation when it comes to this type of matter, like the Civil War in England. Many women dressed up as men so they could join the war and help. The reason why women wanted to do this was to get a sense of adventure and escape. This is actually true. It comes from this is when I was starting to quote some citations from scholarly articles that I was looking into. Let me restart. The reason why women wanted to do this was to get a sense of adventure and to escape from their problems, from what they dealt with. So it was actually I can find the annotated bibliography about that. That's what it was in those times, because they were always like, oh, women are not allowed to do this, women are not allowed to, and then eventually they just couldn't deal with that problems, and since they had conflicts with their husbands, and they just couldn't take that no more. So they felt like they just needed a sense of adventure and see what it's like to see the world in a man's perspective, and especially back in those days. So, thoughts on that?
I think it's really interesting. I do agree with their choice to do that. Because if you think about it, back then, that's, like you said, that is really all they did all day.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you were in their position,
Exactly.
Wouldn't you want to get out? Even if it's for some war, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether or not you would actually want to participate in a war, I'm sure I would rather be doing that than being stuck in a house all day, cleaning and whatnot.
Even though it was
preparing dinner.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean, it seems it's the most comforting thing you could do, but it's so boring, and it's a lot of people would say to this, but it's not safe for them, or it's not I don't know how they would say it, but like when some people would say something about this, it's just some women want to just be more than just some house cleaner or some woman that has that does basically nothing all day, just a couch potato. And especially in those times, there's no TV, no Netflix, no just basically no internet, no technology hardly.
Yeah.
And so you really if you really think about that, it's just
so it is, when you think about it, it is their choice, and they know the safety, in regards to being in war, and they get to choose between being in war and being stuck at home, and it's their choice to decide whether or not that's what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And
so they chose to go to war, and the only way that they could do that is by a topic of cross-dressing.
Yes, exactly. Not coastal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts about that, Antonio? Just to get your opinion and your perspective.
No.
No?
Well, my opinion, I actually think that most of the things that you said were correct. That the information that you got, it does. My words don't want to work right now.
It does do. No, I agree. It does do.
Yeah, it does do. Most definitely. So we'll so we're like getting one of the historical. I'm just gonna look up more stuff that I was going to look up, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And so. And then we'll eventually get into like more controversial starts about it. Like I said, sexuality. Why would people like that want to dress up as a guy, or for the heck of it, not for the war's sake, because there was a reason why women did that back in the 1800s and back in late 1890s, because they just didn't want, they were treated like women. Oh, women, you're supposed to stay and cook me dinner, not, and even then it's still like that now. Crazy how we have not changed. A lot of how we can relate to like
a lot of time
toxic masculinity, uses that,
But that also goes like what I said earlier about how they were raised, because a lot of people are gonna be like that if their father is like that with their mom, or their mom is already like automatically programmed to think that they're gonna program their kids.
Yeah.
So no matter what, that era will never die, because no matter what, the era is still going to be stuck with us being programmed.
Oh wow, all caps.
Yeah, and women are raised like that, like you said, in that environment, and that makes them okay with it.
Exactly. It's when it's definitely not.
They perpetuate that, which is, to them, it's fine.
Yeah, a lot of females now kind of want that.
Mm-hmm.
They want a man that can just take care of them, to where they can just stay home. But then there's others who want the complete opposite, to where they want to take care of the man and they want their guy to stay home. But it is really how they are raised and how they are brought up.
And there are guys who want to stay home and take care of the house and cook and such.
Yeah, which you do see that now. Yeah, I mean, you do see a lot of that.
It's really common
nowadays.
Yeah,
it's like, and you got people like, here's a topic that's it's not really off topic, but it has something to do with the connections that we're talking about. Andrew Tate. So like, how he like always says that women should be, cooking stuff and all that stuff. And like how he's put a bad a bad image on young kids, and how that affects women now, because now the young kids are like, oh, women's supposed to be cooking and not do, or staying home and cook and take care and clean the house, and watching the children and not doing anything, but only that. Which, that's insane. It's almost, it's very pitiful how people like YouTube, like influencers like that, are inspiring the young generation, because that's gonna really affect the generation below them, or the next generation for them, because they're gonna be like, oh, this is what Andrew Tate taught me, and then they're gonna take that and then just gonna ruin a whole like the next 2 generations.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and something I want to point out is the way. Think about it, the way this conversation is going, right? We started at cross-dressing, now we're going to roles in relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's a big connection with them.
It shows how there's a much more broad influence between the cross-dressing and how it affects culture entirely.
Exactly. And would you say that cross-dressing is a part of a cultural thing now? Like
in some cultures, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically
Yeah, in some cultures it is actually like very common, even in some religions, to dress up like that.
Yeah.
Or not even dress up, just dress.
Exactly.
Like, it's not really, like, I don't see the point in gender, like, specific clothes.
Yeah.
Like, clothes are clothes.
It's true.
Yep.
Okay, so I got a random topic. It's still cross-dressing. But it's what I'm reading is an article. So this article is about the guy. So the secret history of cross-dressers. I'm gonna read a little bit of it, and if you want me to read more, I'll read more. So okay, so we're getting to like transsexual stuff. Okay, maybe not. Well, let's read it. Why not? Obsessions can start young. French filmmaker Sebastian Lifshitz, who is best known for Bambi, a documentary about France's most celebrated transsexual, was always drawn to trans history. He had been collecting photographs of crossdressers from the markets, junk shops, eBay, and the like since he was 10. That's a good sentence. After directing Wild Side, which is a film, and that was filmed in 2004 or released in 2004, a feature film about the life of a transsexual woman living in France, he became even more inspired by these bruised extenses. Is that right? Extenses lived against the grain, and began to collect the often anonymous photographs more seriously. Some of these images were published in 2 books, The Invisible Vintage Portraits of Love and Pride Gay Couples in the Early 20th Century. While many are going on display at a new exhibition at the Photographers Gallery opening on Friday, ahead of the opening, the curator Karen McQuaid, which it's a complicated name. I'm just calling her Karen. Her name's Karen. Discusses the exhibition and why photography sheds light on a lesser-known past. And so, there's also a little bit right here. When was cross-dressing first documented? Do you want me to keep reading, or do you want to talk? You want to stop and talk about what I just read?
Keep going.
Okay. So, as a social practice, it has a scattered but pretty continuous history that reaches as far back as gender-specific clothing itself. There are literary and figurative representations of cross-dressing from the Aztecs, the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. It shows up in Norse mythology, the Hindu epics, and the Odyssey. It was prohibited in the Bible and Deuteronomy 22:5. And it was effectively made illegal in the UK in 1885. So it's safe to say it's been around a while. But if you look even before that, Juan Milan did that, So do you want to talk about that and stop and talk about that? Is that enough
I do want to point out,
Okay.
it does go extremely far back in history. Norse mythology, they were wearing like skirts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember Spartans, man. Like Spartans, they wore like skirts too. Like, you know, like am I wrong? Did they wear skirts? Did some
They wore skirts.
Yeah. Okay. I was
it was easier for them to move around.
Exactly. And they had, you know, from a preference for a man, you know, it's more room. Like, let's be real. Let's be
just like dresses.
Yeah.
Dresses were originally made for males.
Yeah. So is that all? Do you want to keep reading about it?
Sure, go for it.
All right. So when were images of cross-dressers first exhibited? That's the question. We have photographs in the exhibition dating back into 1880s. Interestingly, while we were planning our exhibition, the National Portrait Gallery acquired a portrait of celebrational diplomat and a cross-dresser, Chevalier de Eon by Gilbert Stuart. It's the first painted portrait of a man in women's clothing in their collection. We know that the Stuart portrait is a copy of an earlier painting by Laurent Mosnier. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. And that was exhibited at the Royal Academy in 1791. That's insane. I'll keep reading with this. Photography is key in providing evidence of people resisting the dominant and prescribed way of being. Some do so boldly in public and some quietly behind closed doors. These particular photographs prove varied and long-standing precedents for today's diverse trans and queer spectrum. For many cross-dressers and people playing dress-up in order to explore their identity, photography offers reassurance, some sort of visual arbiter that they have succeeded in achieving the look they aimed for. A lot of people only wish to present as someone from the opposite gender or indeed as someone non-binary for part of the time, and sadly many people do not feel safe enough to be as they wish to be in public. A photograph can stay with you in your hand and your wallet, on your phone, or on your person with you at all times. When you're in a drab or your everyday clothing as a reminder of another, perhaps truer version of yourself, photography has always been used to cite for reinvention and self-expression. There's a photo. I don't know if you could see it, but you can actually see pretty. Yeah, I just gotta. I'm gonna. So if you really
describe the photo. What is the
photo? It's really with the men with wigs. I think it's wigs because it's 1790. I'm pretty sure it was documented in 1791. So wigs were pretty common. So these were just literally men, like literally dressing and like they had dresses on. Like, look. If I can, I got an idea to really see it. Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a man. And so there's not really anything else to say. I mean, there's this last little bit. We could talk about it if you want to, or we can move on to the next step. This is the historical aspect. This is the kind of the boring part, but it's the beginning, which is interesting. Usually with things with history, it's always boring. I find it always boring. But I find when it gets to more present day, it gets more interesting. But do you want me to read that last bit or?
Yes. Let's move on.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can move on to explore more topics.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, sorry. But yeah. So that's the historical aspect. We didn't cover almost everything because there's so much documentation on the historical aspect of, cross-dressing. So let's get into the other stuff about cross-dressing. So, So that was the war. Let's talk about the war side of it. It's still history, but let's talk about the war side of it. I know we hit that part, pretty good, but let's talk about one more historical picture of it. So here's my annotated bibliography, and so I'm going to find the Civil War, and I'll read like the summary.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is the part that gets cut out.
Yeah, this is the part that gets cut out. We were gonna do a video. Okay, well, Platinum, you explain what we were gonna do. Explain to my professor what we're gonna do.
What do you mean?
The video part.
The video part?
Yeah, the video part.
Like edit the video.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's the interesting one. Okay, so forget that. Forget the English Civil War. Okay, so this is a book, a scholarly article by. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher this name. Murad Ramadahani. And what's their Z?
Okay.
Zayed Ben.
Okay.
That's the two authors. Cross-dressing and border cross-dressing. Okay, so this is William Shakespeare. Words. William Shakespeare, as you the book is called Cross-dressing and Border Cross-dressing in William Shakespeare's As You Like It: The Paradox of Female Identity. And so basically the summary, both authors dive into the themes of the cross-dressing and border cross-dressing present in the Shakespeare's play. Both authors argue that these themes are a vehicle for exploring the paradox of female identity, as the act of cross-dressing allows for a blurring of gendered lines and the creation of new possibilities for female characters by adopting a different gender identity and crossing borders. The female characters challenge traditional notions of femininity and provide a space for exploring the complexity of gender and identity. The article discusses how Shakespeare recognized the gender roles are not rigidly fixed and can be flexible, and this concept remains applicable several times. So yeah, but think about so back in the day, in those times when William Shakespeare, so it was obvious that in the plays women weren't allowed to act. It was the men dressed up as women. There's a sign of cross-dressing. So it's in a way, that's where, that's how drag queens kind of formed. You know what I'm saying? So like, the relation with that, because drag queens is for it's supposed to be a show, a performance, and that's how it connects to that. With William Shakespeare and some other stuff like that. But it was mainly found in here because William Shakespeare was just an insanely popular dude, and so you see that. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's.
I actually didn't.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I didn't know that William Shakespeare, actually even spoke upon that.
He talked about that. Yeah, he talked about cross-dressing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's insane. But you could check out the article. The article's literally, I guess I'll have to say it again. It's called Cross-dressing and Border Cross-dressing in William Shakespeare's As You Like It: The Paradox of Female Identity. And it's a whole article, literally about that. I think it was like two separate authors that wrote that book, and they argued about it, and there's documentation of him talking about it as well. And so I'm sure they have cited from that from those texts. But yeah, that's just,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
That it's ironic in a way that that the women were not allowed to act in the play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet the men would cross-dress to represent the women.
Exactly, and how like they, and here's the thing: how they're okay with that too, or we assume that they're okay with that since they're doing it, without there's no documentation of them fighting for there's no documentation of them not wanting to do it, so it's really hard to say if they wanted to or not. But now we have basically we can just assume that they wanted to because that's they love acting. But yeah, we can cut off on the historical part completely and talk about let's go a little bit further into time. Let's talk about
go for it.
Androgynous rock. So,
okay.
What's your favorite rock band? What's your favorite classic 80s rock band, Platinum? That had that, kind of cross-dressing type. Would you listen to Motley Crue? Did you listen to Wasp? Did you listen? Because Motley Crue. Motley Crue. I remember listening to Wasp, Poison, Whitesnake, Guns N' Roses, man. Like, dude, Axl. Dude, I said this, but I even said this to the professor. I was like, when I was watching Guns N' Roses, when one of the performances when in the early 80s, and he was dancing on the stage, and I asked my dad, "Who's that chick dancing on the stage?" And so he said, "Son, that's a man." I was like, "Oh, well, dang." So yeah, it was pretty crazy because they really pushed those boundaries, and because you see that in many classic 80s rock bands like Brat. Brat, they did Round and Round. You see that in Wasp. I Want to Be Somebody. Motley Crue.
Elton John.
Elton John did that too. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, David Bowie, Elton John.
Yes. And it all comes back to performing as well. Performance and shock value, especially in the 80s. Shock value is everything because you see that shock value leads to, eventually leads to heavier stuff, but, that's a different topic. But eventually, you got Kiss. They use that as shock value as well. They even took a step further and did that. And it's pretty cool how they do that. And so let's talk about how they dress. So Twisted Sister, especially. Let's talk about Twisted Sister and the lead singer.
Yeah.
Dee Snider. So when the song "I Want to Rock," he wears a wig, a curly wig, a kind of like a Goldilocks kind of wig. Wears a dress, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And so, what did you think when you saw that first time? When you saw "I Want to Rock" music video, or when you saw something like that, what was your first time reacting to that? Or what was it like? What was your opinion on that?
It's hard to say because it was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was strange because I wasn't familiar.
Yeah.
With the whole cross-dressing scene, I wasn't familiar. I was probably like 6 years old.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Oh yeah, that's.
But yeah, I remember seeing it on a music cable channel at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was strange because I had never seen that.
Yeah. About you, Antonio?
Honestly, I believe the first time that I saw it, I was probably around like 8 or 9, and I kind of had more questions about like, what is it comfortable for the person to be in that type of clothing, or were they forced to wear it? Because growing up, it was kind of like I had a little brother, like I had cousins that like to dress up my little brother, so like,
Oh wow!
seeing that, it was kind of funny. So like,
So you're so
at a young age, like that, I was kind of like used to it. So I saw it as more like a joke. But as I grew up, I kind of understood that it's a way of almost living. It's a way to express yourself.
Yeah. All right. But there's not really that much to really talk about in the androgynous rock. But do we still see that today in rock and roll, or not even in rock and roll, and music in general? Let's talk about music in general. Like, what's his name? Lil Nas X.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a good example. Who else? Who cross dresses?
Another popular person would be either Bretman Rock or what's his name? Jeffree Star.
Yeah, Jeffree Star. Well, I think he's transgender. I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, but I don't want to assume it. I want to make sure.
Yeah, no.
But he definitely does have a shock value.
But,
yeah, it does.
But I believe it's like it became more popular with like artists.
Oh, okay. So he's just so it says he identifies as a male, and he's just a gay man. So he's just a man that loves dressing up like that.
Okay.
And it's just his.
See.
Yeah. Okay. Which that's he's very he's huge. I know that he's a major inspiration for people like that because he has done so much. Like he has like the company that he made. Just I think it was a lipstick company. Is it a lipstick company?
It's like I believe it's a general like eyeliner and blush company.
Yeah. I know it's something to do with makeup, but yeah, but that's just to say something like that. Is just to say that it's insane for people I'm completely just blacked out, or I just forgot what I was gonna say. So I was let me rethink what I was gonna say. So what I'm trying to say was he did a lot for as a model, the picture of him. He did a lot of inspiration on people that did cross dressing, or people that wanted to start doing it. Which that's awesome. It helps people to realize I guess what they want to be. It answers some of their questions what they don't want to be. It helps them open up because he's not scared to say that he's gay and he wants to dress up with pink hair and long nails and be like that. So that's pretty cool. But who else? Now we're talking about social media. We were just talking about social media influencers. We just touched on that real quick. Let's go back a bit. Let's talk about how now I've watched the movie Dirt, and I know that Nikki Sixx had a bad childhood, and I know the Dirt ain't really accurate, but it's pretty dang accurate. How it is, his mom wasn't really there for him, and he says in interviews too, like Nikki Sixx, like he says that his mom wasn't the best, like he would like literally like abuse him emotionally and stuff. So he actually I think this was real, but I think he hurt himself so he could actually blame his mom, for the mom did it, but it really was him. So he wanted to leave he went to, what do you call it? When he became an orphan, and so the shelter took care of him, or whatever you call it, the people that take care of orphans. What do you call them? What do you call the? I can't remember the name for people that take care of orphans. I don't know why.
Caretaker, foster parent.
Yeah, the foster care. That's what it was. Foster care. And so when he became 18 and all that stuff, they let him go, and he changed his name to Nicky Six, and he eventually, they made the band, and eventually they started doing their thing, and his mom wasn't really surprised, really wasn't all for that, and that really, that comes to how people, like, it comes with a rebellious state too. Like, if you're, like, for example, your father or your mother does not accept what you are, like, oh my gosh, my son he's dressing up like a girl. He's not my son no more, and you see that, and that's a continuous cycle, and, he's trying to express himself, and his dad does not want to accept it, or his parents or his family or whatever. And so I'm using Nicky Six as an example for just people like that are trying to express themselves, and, their parents or family are not accepting them. And so they continue to see that, and they keep doing it, and they keep getting rejected. So that makes them want to, keep doing it as well. And, that's not bad, but, like, they want to, like, prove that that's them. And if you ain't going to accept it, then I'll just keep doing it. And you're just going to accept it. And so, like, that really, it's kind of sad that parents like that will not accept their child, in that way. It's just very sad.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, let's get. I feel like that we have anything that does anyone want to add on that? Want to talk more about that?
No, I think you fully covered everything that needed to be covered on that.
All right.
Subject.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get in. Okay, so this is a real hard one right here. Now, I don't know, how are you guys with religion?
I'm actually an atheist, or agnostic atheist.
Okay. How about you, Platinum? I actually have never asked you this, but do you want me to talk about it? Or do you want to talk about it, or do you want to not talk about it? Your spiritual life, or your religious, if you're religious or not.
My family is very Christian. I don't participate much, though.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay. All right. Me personally, I want to consider myself a Christian. But yeah, let's talk about religious and cross-dressing, and how, as a, I know a lot of people, like, let's just get it out of the water. A lot of Christians don't accept lesbians, gay people. But here's the crazy part. I know this is off topic, and, people that dress, like I said in Deuteronomy, like when I was quoting that quote in Deuteronomy, whatever, it's a Bible verse. I'm pretty sure it says, "A man shall not wear a woman's garment, and a woman shall not wear a man's garment." And that's where it gets really confusing, because, like, back in those days, it's kind of hard to tell, because to really, like I said, gender is a man-made definition. It's not in the Bible. It was not in the Bible. It was researched, and it was not in the Bible. And it's true. It is true. I've researched this. And as a Christian, it's hard to, it's really hard to not accept people like that. Because for me as a person, I want to, and I will. And I said it, I will accept people like that, even though it's against my own religion. I don't, it's just the way I believe, and I know that we're not supposed to do that, but I feel like in my soul that it should be that way. But even in some of the Bible, God says to love everyone. That includes people like that. But here's the thing. Let's talk about the sex, so you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That includes with a gay man or a lesbian woman, or I have to fight that urge as much as that gay person does. It doesn't matter with our sexes, our sexualities. It doesn't matter with that. That has no clue. That has nothing to do with who we like. Because at the end of the day, we both have to fight sexual urges. So it really don't matter. So just to get that out of the way, let's talk about religion and cross-dressing and how that affects religion. And I actually will open my
I have a real world example of this.
Yes.
That a friend of mine experienced recently.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is going to a primarily Christian college.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they appear very feminine.
Uh-huh.
And will wear usually, like Tim's baggy jeans, t-shirts, and like mechanics jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a baseball cap.
Mm-hmm.
And just the other day, they went to a drag show event that was near their campus. And there were campus students that were spitting on them from balconies and such.
Wow. Like Christian students.
And shouting slurs and things from the balconies.
Good Lord, man.
And this happened yesterday.
And that's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah.
See, then that's completely. It literally goes against what Christians are saying, and that's the problem with Christianity these days. People that are Christians the main percentage of them, they literally go back on their word. You go back to the beginning. And God loves everyone, and you doing that to people is really going against what God wants. It's just that simple. Yeah. It's really that simple. You're supposed to love everyone, and some people don't do that, and that's the exact example with with the drag. Was it the drag show? Drag show. Am I saying that right? Drag show. Okay.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts about this, Antonio? Like, since you're an agnostic, I really want to hear your perspective. I love hearing that type of perspective.
The way that I don't have a way of living. With that situation, I believe love is love.
Okay.
Like, if you love somebody, then go ahead and love them. I'm not going to sit here and be against it. Who am I to say anything about if you could love or not love anybody? And that goes for everybody. Who is it? Like, who are they to be able to say anything about anybody else's life?
Okay.
So, honestly, like, I'm perfectly comfortable with if anybody wants to date the same gender or even wear the same clothes as another gender. It doesn't really bother me any.
Okay. And how about you, Platinum? This is gonna same topic. Hold on a second. I'm sorry to cut you off. So like what I'm trying to say is, so like, what do you think about? It's still the same topic about cross-dressing, but what is your thoughts about how Christians, do that to people that are cross-dressing? And that their whole point is what God tells you to love everyone, even the worst people.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that? Like, what is your whole opinion and what is your perspective on that?
When it comes to Christianity and them expressing their opinions very extremely on other people, Christianity, I sort of got out of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And same thing happened to me.
The community I was in, it's very brainwashy.
Yeah.
And people end up forming opinions that aren't even their own, and they will defend that by spitting on people and shouting slurs from balconies, apparently, from what I've heard. And I think if Christianity was something that was much less, like I said, brainwashy and much less
Exactly.
very, very, very opinionated and politically inclined, I think cross-dressing would be a lot more accepted, especially in the U.S. where Christianity is primarily the religion that it's about.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about the annotated bibliography part, and then we should be good. Like, we're almost an hour long.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So okay.
Just give me 1 second. All right, I'm listening. Just give me a second.
Oh no, you're good. I have to find this article real quick. I'm taking my sweet time as well, man. Oh, this is another good one. Okay, so we'll talk about this one and talk about the other one. I'll wait on you.
You're good.
All right. So this is about this okay, so the book is called, or the scholarly article is called Parodying the Nation, Cross-Dressing, and Vietnamese American Comedy. It's by Lan Dong. Don't ask me to re-say that, please. The research article Parodying the Nation, Cross-Dressing, and Vietnamese American Comedy explains how Vietnamese American comedians use cross-dressing in their comedy shows to make fun of cultural norms and expectations, and to challenge stereotypes and traditional gender roles. The article shows how cross-dressing is used by comedians to resist cultural assimilation and erasure and assert their own cultural identity. They do this by using humor to highlight the absurdities and contradictions of society, expectations, and stereotypes. In summary, the article is about how Vietnamese American comedians use cross-dressing to make fun of cultural norms and expectations, challenge stereotypes, resist cultural assimilation, and assert their own cultural identity. Thoughts on that?
Okay. It all makes sense.
I don't have anything to that.
You don't have anything to that? Okay, I guess that was just something that I could just add, I guess, for the heck of it. I can't find the one about the religion. I'm pretty sure it was in the beginning. It's Galtia. Law of the construction. Okay, cool. Wait. Judaism. Where's Judaism? It all makes sense. Where is it? Okay. Oh. No. Civil War. Oh, what's a monastery? Guys.
I believe a monastery is a church.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about this because I can't find the other thing. Cross-dressing in a Russian Orthodox monastery. The case of Maria Zakharova. Platinum, help. Zakharova. Zakharova.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you got it.
So this is about a research article that talks about a woman named Maria Zakharova who disguised herself as a man and lived as a monk in a Russian Orthodox monastery. In the late 1800s, the article explains that Zakharova's cross-dressing can be seen as a way of resisting the gender roles and expectations placed on women in Russian society at the time. The article discusses how Zarkova's case was interpreted by others, ranging from admiration to suspicion and condemnation. The article provides an interesting look into the intersection of gender, religion, and power in Russian society at the time. So let's talk about Russian laws at that time. So we all know that Russia is insanely crazy because we always had the U.S. and Russia had always had this feud when it comes with stuff, and Russia in general, they do not accept Christians at all.
Yeah.
So we put that on a perspective of cross-dressing. If they don't accept Christianity, then what do they do with cross-dressing, especially in those times? So, and now I don't have any articles that they would what they would do, because I honestly don't feel like looking it up because we have plenty of time, But what did you think they would do? Russians would do to people that cross-dress?
Honestly,
it's a sin.
That, like, strict of a religion, they would classify them as either insane or either just lock them up for it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Or you could or maybe death, because they just think they're just crazy. They're too crazy to even live in society. But in reality, they were just expressing themselves and, resisting that, which is insane. So, do you have anything to add on any other topics that we talked about?
No.
All right. In conclusion, what are your thoughts on cross-dressing? Do you think it's cool? Do you think it's something that that will be accepted eventually will be accepted in society, or do you think that it will ever be accepted?
I believe that it should be accepted.
I agree with you.
Or that it should have already been accepted, because it's been so long, around for so long, and so many people use it to actually express themselves.
And it's like it's not only a way to express themselves, it's also like a way to perform, and to it's a way of almost acting. It's a way of acting as well. It's a lot of things. Honestly, cross-dressing is a lot of things, and it's not bad, And I feel like that's a stereotype, the cross-dressing, And here's a real story that me and Logan, my friend Logan. Now we would walk at McDonald's at the time a lot, and we always would see this woman, or no, that's not woman. Man that was dressing up like a woman. Now I'm not misgendering, or I'm not doing that at all. It could be it was a man. It was clearly a masculine person, and it was clearly a man. It looked like a man in my eyes, and he was dressing up as, he had women's clothes. He had a wig and all that stuff, or either he had his hair grown out. I thought that was, now at the time, I thought that was completely crazy, because again, and now my mind's obviously changed because I looked into it, and that's a lesson to learn for everyone. Don't just judge, and I feel like that's a thing for everyone. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's a thing that's been said since the beginning of time, pretty much. I'm pretty sure. And, from time to time again, everyone judges a book by its cover. And eventually, once they read the cover or read the story, it's like, holy crap, why did I judge in the first place? And you got to really take that to heart. A lot of people need to just write it down, take it to heart, and just keep saying that over and over again. And every time they see something that they find weird, say that in your head, And I feel like it should be accepted in society. If we can accept trans people, if we can accept gay people, if we can accept people that want to identify as she, him, / with different pronouns, I feel like that we should accept it.
I agree.
So, how about you, Platinum?
No, I agree.
All right.
The thing is, I think that it won't be totally accepted ever because people will always have their opinions, and as the world grows larger in culture, people will continue having different opinions.
Yeah, and opinions is like the new facts now. Oh, he said this.
No matter what, everybody's going to have their opinion.
Yeah. And now it's crazy to say.
Honestly, if you want to live the way that makes yourself happy, live it.
Well, guys, there's nothing else to add. Then I guess we're gonna end the stream and we're calling it a night. And also, this is Caleb, aka Arrow165. This is the channel, and subscribe, and I will continue to talk about topics not like this, but like I'm gonna cover. I always would cover, comedy stuff, gaming, all that good stuff, that good jazz. But yeah. So, Stone 6 signing out.